me. So, and can you press the preview, please? And there we go. As far as I can see now, we are live and live streaming on YouTube. So we still don't know what we changed, but something seems to be working now. There we go. Okay, so we don't have any viewers yet, but they will probably get in. So I will start the trailer, or I will start the bumper now for Digital Classroom, and I will be right back with you guys with a new episode from Digital Classroom with live Q&A. Hey guys, my name is Frank Dorff and I would like to welcome you to this new episode of Q&A with Digital Classroom. Okay, so we got some questions in from students and of course also people online. And one of the questions is, Frank, I want to buy a reflector. What kind of reflector should I buy? Should I buy a gold one because it gives you a nice warm tint? You have to remember that those tints on those images that you see are often not done by reflectors. Now, what is a reflector and what is those tinting? Well, let's start very simple. Color of light. Now, if you look outside, the normal color of light is about 5500 degrees Kelvin or 6500 degrees, but in that area. So if you want to light a model and you're using daylight and you're using a reflector, you should use something like silver if you want a little bit more shadow, a little bit more power, or you should use a white one if you want a softer quality of light. Now, what is the gold one? Well, the gold one will actually change some stuff. Now, let me explain that very simple. If a model is in the shade, she's actually in a cooler color temperature than a normal outside color temperature. So, if you shoot her in the shade, she's actually a little bit more blue. Now, if you shoot her on that color balance, the background will actually change totally from your appearance, and that doesn't look right. So now you use a gold reflector to open up the shadow color temperature to match it with the outside color temperature. Now, when you look at strobes like speedlights, you have the same thing. You have something called the omnibounds, and you also have CTO gels. Now, they work the same way. The green one you use for fluorescent lights, or in Dutch, TL-balken. You use the gold one, again, if you want a model in the shade and you want to mix it with the ambient light and get the color correction correct. And use the white one if you just use it outside. And of course, that's pretty cool, right? Well, the gold one has a second option. If you're shooting under tungsten light, so light bulbs, because those are also very low in your color temperature. So that's where the gold one comes in. So the gold one is very important. But don't shoot a model in bright sunlight with a gold reflector because he will actually get a bit of a yellow look and that's weird. Okay, the other question that came in is, Frank, if I buy strobes, what kind of strobe should I buy? Well, yeah, you know, a lot of salespersons will try to sell you the strobes at 400 watt, 800 watt, 1000 watts or whatever. And that's not always the right choice for you guys. Now, what is the right choice? The first thing you have to realize is, what do I want to do? Do I want to shoot wide open on 2.8? In that case, it's even better to choose a strobe that's, for example, the D-Light 1 from Elinchrom. It's 100 watt seconds, and that's perfect to shoot wide open in the studio. Now, Frank, I also want to shoot on f16. That's no problem at all. You just raise your ISO of your camera to 400 or even 800. With modern days cameras, that's no problem at all because there's hardly any noise. So you have a huge range. Now, if you buy, let's say, an 800 watt strobe, you can't shoot on 2.8 anymore because the strobe can't go low enough. You can still shoot on f16 or f22, but not on 2.8. So often people buy way too powerful strobes for what they want to do. Now, Frank, is a D-Light 100, is that really a good strobe? Yes, it is. It's cheap and it's a really good quality. Now, shouldn't you buy the Chinese brands? Well, in my opinion, there are a few big brands like Elinchrom, which I use myself. You have Profoto, Bowens, Hensel. Those are all really good brands. Now, if you start off with a strobe set, you will very quickly find out that the most money is not spent on the strobes itself. It's actually spent on all the accessories like modifiers. What is a modifier? That's a softbox, a grid, a reflector, a snoot, strip lights, Fresnel spots, whatever. That's where the most money goes. Now, if you later on decide like, you know, every shot I take has a little bit of a different color temperature or a little bit of a different exposure, I want to upgrade to a better strobe. Most of the money was spent on modifiers, remember? And those modifiers often don't fit on the other system. Of course you can buy converter rings, but you don't even want to go there. That's way too much hassle. So I would really advise you to buy the cheapest possible in one brand. If you want to go for Profoto, buy the cheapest Profoto. If you want to go for Elinchrom, my choice, you buy, for example, the D-Lights, and then you can build from there. Now, connecting to that, a lot of people also ask me, Frank, what should I do if I want to freeze models? Well, you have to look at something called the flash duration. The flash duration is very important because that's how fast the flash will actually appear in your image, meaning how much freezing time you will have. Now, to freeze motion, you need approximately between 1/2000 and 1/3000 of a second. Now, some of the manufacturers, they cheat a little bit. What they will tell you actually is our strobes do 1/10,000 of a second. And you go like, that's amazing, now I can freeze my motion, now I can freeze my models. That's not completely true. Because what they don't tell you is it's on the lowest power setting. And as soon as you raise the power for half power, for example, you're already below 1/1000 of a second. Is that a problem? Yeah, because I don't want to shoot my models on 2.8 to freeze the motion. I want to shoot it on f16 because then if my model moves a little bit, she's still in focus. Now, Elinchrom actually on most sets have the highest flash duration on the highest setting, meaning you can shoot with a lot of depth of field and freeze your motion. The ELCs are a little bit different. They have a very high flash duration on the lowest setting, very high flash duration on the highest setting, but in the middle, they're insane. They're like 1/5000 of a second. You can freeze whatever you want with that. Now, the other thing is, how should I control my strobes? Should I buy strobes that have like this little dial, or should I buy digital strobes? I always advise you to buy digital strobes, because if you're like me using a light meter, you can actually do increments of 1/10 of an f-stop, works flawlessly. If you have a dial, that's always a little bit like, well, let's wing it, let's try it out. And that's not the way you want to work in front of your client if you want to change something. Now, the stops are the final thing that's very important in a lighting system. You have some strobes that will give you a range of 3 stops. That sounds amazing, right? But in reality, it's 2.8, 4, 5.6, and that's very limiting. Now, if you go for the bigger brands and the more expensive strobes, they will get you 6, 7 stops. And that's awesome, because now you can go from 2.8, 4, 5.6, 8, 11, 16, 22. That's a huge range to work with, meaning you can also buy, for example, a 500 watt head or a 1000 head and still be able to shoot on 2.8 with certain modifiers. You hear that last part? Certain modifiers. Now, why did I say certain modifiers? Very simple. Not all modifiers are equal. For example, if I look at the Elinchrom system, the maxi light will give me 1.5 stops more power. That's amazing for outside, for example, on the Quadra. But a strip light will actually eat some light, meaning that if you shoot in the studio and you want to shoot wide open with a maxi light, that won't work. If you want to shoot wide open with a strip light, that works perfectly because it eats a little bit of power. Now, let's say you're on location and you have this big maxi light and you want to still lower the output and your strobe won't go any lower. You don't want to move your light further away because then the whole light fall off isn't correctly. How do you solve that? You take with you some diffusion material and you put that in front of your maxi light. Now, if you don't have diffusion material, take off your shirt. If it's a white shirt, a gray shirt, or a black shirt, of course. If it's a red shirt, just keep it on. By the way, just keep your shirt on. It sounds weird. But you can use clothing in front of your strobe to lower the output because you're actually using it as diffusion material. Okay, another question that came in, we're gonna do right after the break, because this episode is of course made possible by our friends from Rogue Expo Imaging and BenQ. And one of the things that's important, and a lot of people forget, is your monitor. And you can spend a whole lot of money on an Adobe RGB monitor and get perfect performance, Or you can save a little bit of money and you can buy a BenQ 27-inch Adobe RGB monitor, and it's actually right here. This is the monitor, and I really love that monitor. And I believe it retails for $6.99. And I compared it to some of the bigger brands, and I have to be honest, that's why it's on my desk. I absolutely love the monitor. So let's see a little bit of a video on the monitor, and after that I'm gonna go back to you with some ideas on the iPad Pro, because man, I made a video. And if you want to see how some people are, let me put it mildly, not reading the comments or understanding them, that was the video to watch. So I'm gonna give a little bit of a rant about that one. So first, let's look a little bit at the BenQ 27-inch monitor, thanks to our sponsor BenQ, who made this possible. So see you later after the break. Hey guys, my name is Frank Dorff, and I want to tell you today about the new 27-inch monitor from BenQ. Now, I'm a fashion photographer, and I like my colors to be as they are in real life, because I do my best to light my scene correctly, to style the scene, to have great makeup, great model, and then I see my images on a monitor and they look like, well, very dull. Well, that can happen to you too, and it will probably happen to you. You know the problem? Your monitor is not up to spec. Now, a monitor isn't a monitor. It's not something that just shows you the image. There are many different kinds of monitors. Like TV sets, your very expensive ones, which will give you better image quality, right? Now, with computer monitors, we always tell people it's all about the color space. For example, you have an sRGB monitor, or for the professionals, an Adobe RGB monitor. But if you don't know what that means, it doesn't make any sense. Now, let me make it simple. These are the colors in real life. So this is what you capture, right? It's great, it's vibrant, it's saturated, it's real life. Now, an sRGB monitor, it's a really small color space. And that's okay for the web or for a laptop or just simply browsing your images. But if you want those more vibrant colors, you need something a little bit bigger. And that's an Adobe RGB color space. It's just a bigger color space. But it also means that the monitor has to show those colors. Now, in the past, those monitors were pretty expensive, especially a 27-inch. And BenQ really made me enthusiastic about this monitor because it's very affordable. It's delivered with a hood. So in other words, it will cut down on your glare. And it's, well, I can give you all the bells and whistles about it. Like it has all the inputs you need. It has all the specs. It's 99% Adobe RGB. But in the end, it all boils down to one thing: image quality. And I'm very picky, and as you can see, it's my main editing monitor at the moment. So I'm very enthusiastic about the monitor. If you are looking for a great monitor and you want something in the 27-inch, and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money on it, check out the new BenQ 27-inch. And for me, the most important thing is that it has a hardware calibration option, meaning you use their own software and you use a calibrator, and you can really make sure that the reds are as red as they are intended. Now, I know a lot of monitors come with this sheet, like I'm calibrated in the factory. That's great, but it doesn't make any sense because your computer is different. So you have to recalibrate. Now, when do you recalibrate? I always recalibrate before a very important retouch session. For example, if I have to do a wedding or a fashion shoot, I will just let my monitor warm up for half an hour or an hour, do the calibration, and then I do my retouching. That way, I know for sure that my colors are accurate. So BenQ, job well done. I'm very happy with the monitor. And you guys, if you're in the market for a new monitor, check out the new BenQ series because they're really knocking one out of the ballpark with this series. And we're back. Don't you just love those BenQ monitors? And again, I really like the monitors, and I will tell you in all honesty, I wouldn't advise anything to you guys if I don't use it myself and I really like it myself, because otherwise you won't trust me anymore. And that's the most important thing nowadays. You have to trust your instructors or the guys who are your YouTube videos you're watching. So, yeah. Well, Apple released their iPad Pro. Now I was watching the, how do you call it? The live keynote, and I saw the iPad Pro and I was going like, nah, that's not for me. I don't want to play Candy Crush on a big screen. You know, it's fun, but I like my iPad. I had the iPad Air, by the way, and I had the iPad since generation 1. And I wasn't interested in the iPad Pro. It's just bigger. And then they showed, sorry, I'm Dutch, they showed the Apple Pencil. I was going like, this is so cool for people who are creative. Now, I'm not a creative drawer, right? I'm creative with my photography and video, but drawing, now, I stopped drawing when I was 15. And I love drawing, by the way, but somehow I never picked it up again. And I saw that Apple Pencil, I was going like, this is awesome. For all the people drawing manga or cartoons or animation, it's amazing. Then you saw those guys at Disney experimenting with the pencil, and they were over the moon with it. And I saw some demos and I was going like, this is really cool. Now, one of the reasons I never picked up digital drawing is very simple. I couldn't get my hand-eye coordination correct. So I have my Wacom on the table, I'm looking at my screen, and it just didn't work. So you could buy a Cintiq, but the Cintiq is big and I don't need it for my retouching. So that's about $1,200, $1,500 wasted on a Cintiq for only digital drawing. That's a little bit expensive. And it kept going in my head like, I really would like to draw again. I love manga drawings. I don't like manga per se, but I like the drawings of the characters. I like cartoons. So I was just thinking about stuff to buy the iPad Pro. So I was going like, Anouk, do you know that when we shoot live during workshops, we now have this iPad where we shoot wireless into? It should be nice if it's a little bit bigger. And she was going like, yes, okay, that's point one for the iPad Pro. I said, do you do video a lot, right? Anouk, yeah. Okay, iMovie on the iPad Pro is awesome. Yes, he really liked it. So I was going like, okay, very carefully, I can now convince her to buy the iPad Pro. And we actually bought the iPad Pro on the day of the release, and 5 days later I got my Apple Pencil. Now, one of the apps that I really liked was AstroPad. Now, what does AstroPad do? AstroPad connects to your Mac via your Lightning cable or Wi-Fi, and you can control your Mac. That's cool, right? But it's not desktop sharing. What it does, it actually mimics a Wacom Cintiq. So I made a video about it. Oh man, really, I kid you not. There were so many people going like, Frank, why didn't you buy the Surface? Now, I don't want to go into the whole Surface versus the iPad Pro, because I know the Surface runs full versions of Windows, it runs full versions of Photoshop, Lightroom, and whatever. But when I made the video, there was not much support for gestures or zooming your graphic user interface. So Adobe actually updated their versions. Now I have to still try it out because, believe it or not, I do own a Windows Touch laptop on which I can retouch an i7 very fast. The reason I don't do it is because all my apps and all my further stuff is all Apple. So an iPad Pro actually makes sense, and I don't mind working with apps, but bear with me. For video, iPad Pro, hands down, wins. For the very simple reason, working with iMovie on the iPad Pro is a blast. Anouk is now trying it out. She can edit videos on the bed while I'm driving. It runs a long time on its battery. And if you're done, you just export your file into your computer, you open it up in iMovie and store it, and you can open it up in Final Cut Pro and make the final adjustments. You can also use Adobe Clip, which I like. Adobe Clip works together with Premiere. So video, great. And I didn't expect video to be great. I expected photography to be great. And that's where I hit a little bit of a wall. Now, Photoshop is amazing. You have all these plugins. And when I look at my workflow, I don't do a lot with plugins. What I do is I open up my image, and it should be 99% done in camera. Then I start doing the skin. Then I do the toning, and I save. That's about it. That's my whole workflow. And of course I use Mac Fun plugins to make it a little bit more pop. But in essence, my workflow is opening up the image, doing skin work, and saving my image. Tinting my image and saving my image. On the iPad, I expected it to be flawless and fast as soon as everybody updates their apps, and that's the problem at the moment. Adobe Photoshop Fix works like a charm. Adobe Lightroom Mobile in combination with Lightroom works like a charm. But if you want to do high quality fashion retouching, at the moment I have two programs that really caught my attention. The first one is Pixelmator. It works flawless. You can save in PSDs, but you have to use the cloud. But that's no problem if you don't have an internet connection. It saves it on your iPad Pro, and as soon as you have an internet connection, it syncs to the cloud and you can open it up on your computer on a PSD. So that's very fine. The skin smoothing in Pixelmator looks pretty nice. The only problem is it doesn't support layer masks. So how do you do it? Well, you make a duplicate layer and you use your eraser. Not a really good way to do it, but it works. The other program that I really would like you guys to check out is Enlight. Enlight works like a charm, just like Pixelmator. It's a very good software package. I actually like the looks a little bit better in Enlight, and the skin is very good in Enlight. It's not as good as Image-Nomic Portraiture, which I use on the main computer, but it's very, very cool, and it supports layers. In other words, you can paint the effect in and out. So one of the things that the problem is at the moment with Enlight is actually that it doesn't support 42 megapixels yet. And my camera is 42 megapixels, so I don't want to store in 36. Now, I was handed a laptop, so I want to see if something's going on here. Two questions. Can you install a program like Lightroom on your iPad Pro and connect it via USB for tethering? Not yet. As we do tethering now, we all do it wirelessly. If you have a Canon or Nikon, you use something called the Cam Ranger. If you use, like me, Sony, you can use their internal smart remote. And you can just shoot wirelessly to your iPad. It goes really, really fast. I already did a video on that one. The other question is, are two BRX 500 strobes good for a start set upgrading from Speedlight? Dude, the BRXs are awesome. If you go for the cheaper ones, the D-Lights, they're really cool, they're really good. The BRX, that's a whole step up. That's the professional line, so go and get them. Those are amazing strobes. And one step higher is the RX, but I shouldn't buy the RXs anymore. I should go straight into the ELCs, which are, let me put it mildly, freaking awesome. Those strobes are really, really cool. So the ELCs from Elinchrom on the high end, then the BRX, and then of course the D-Lights. And in between are the RXs, but for the price point I would go for the ELCs. So where was I with my iPad Pro? Oh, there we go. So I talked to Enlight and Pixelmator. Pixelmator says cool stuff is coming, so I believe them. Adobe says cool stuff is coming, and I truly, in the end, I want to use all Adobe apps, of course, because Adobe rules. And Pixelmator, it is almost a full-blown Photoshop version at the moment without the layer masks. Enlight is almost a full-blown Photoshop version, only they don't support 42 megapixel yet. But I emailed them and they said they're going to update very, very soon to 70 megapixels, so that will be great. So how do I get my images for my fashion retouching into my iPad Pro? You can use AirDrop, but AirDrop is a little bit flaky sometimes. So what I actually bought is this. Now, this is the iShow Fast. And what you have on one side is USB 3, and on the other side you have Lightning. There's an app, and it's called the iShow Fast app, and you can actually copy everything on your USB, connect it to your iPad, and get everything off. This is how Anouk actually moves her 4K videos into her iPad, so that works like a charm. The other thing is cases. Now, one of the things that I love is the Logitech Create keyboard. The other one, when I draw, and I'm gonna go to that in 1 second, is this one. This is from Cover Body, and I really like this one because it supports also the smart cover from Apple, and it has storage for your Apple Pencil in the back. And when you lay it on the table, it actually is a little bit tilted, so it's perfect for drawing. And that's where we are, drawing. I absolutely fell in love again with drawing. Now, if you follow my social media, you see that I've been doodling around a little bit with some elephants, thanks to Aaron Blaze for that, and some manga. And I don't like manga as their cartoons or their animation, but I do like the characters, and I love to draw those characters. And somehow, and this is one of the most important things, I tried drawing on my Surface Pro. I tried drawing on my Sony Vaio touch laptop. I tried drawing with my Wacom tablets on the PC and on the Mac. I tried the Cintiq, and to be honest, the Cintiq was just a little bit too expensive for that. They all didn't feel natural for me. Now, of course, I stopped drawing when I was 15. The iPad Pro, the moment I started drawing an Adobe Sketch, I fell in love with it. The responses, the shading of the pencil, it's truly, truly an amazing tool. And try Procreate or MediBang. Those are amazing pieces of software. So check those out if you have your iPad Pro. Procreate and Adobe Sketch are both very, very responsive to the iPad Pro and the Pencil. And of course, Astropad just released a new update which makes their sensibility a little bit better. And at the moment, that's my main retouching tool for on my laptop. The fun part is, if you use Wi-Fi, you can have your laptop somewhere else and you can just sit on the couch and start retouching in Photoshop, full-blown Photoshop, and that's great. Okay, so something else. A lot of people visit us, of course, for the workshops, and you guys watch because I always share information, right? And in this case, for free. And we have some cool workshops coming up, guys. And I'm gonna switch to my computer for that, and I'm controlling everything myself at the moment, so bear with me. We're gonna go here. And we're gonna switch, and then I'm gonna turn. Hey guys, now I'm in that camera. So one of the things that I love to do is teach, and I love to bring that information and inspire people. Now, very soon, on June 4th, I'm gonna be in London. And if you go to my website, that's frankdoorhof.com, so 1F/UK, you will get this message because UK is actually in small letters. Sorry for that, guys. There we go. And we have this tour, and it's our A to Z Mastering the Model shoot. This is one of the most intense workshops I teach. It's only teaching. You don't shoot yourself, you just watch and learn. And what I do is everything from styling the set, styling the model, coaching the model, setting up the lights, doing the whole retouching and selecting, and explaining to you guys how we use social media and business tips. So that's an amazing workshop. It's a full day, it's in London, and the best part is, everything you see here will be explained. So understanding metering, manipulating light, styling, adding motion, working on location, expressing, so much more. It's a jam-packed day. But the best part, if you register before the end of the year, it's only £45. So that's a really good price, I think. So in the new year, we'll actually raise the price a little bit. But until now, up until now, it's £45. So if you register before the end of the year. Now, what can you expect during a normal workshop? You can ask whatever you want. And even during the A to Z, the crowds are a little bit bigger, but you can still ask whatever you want, and I will try to explain it to you guys. But you see the whole retouching, nothing is held back. Now, if you want a little bit more and you also want to shoot yourself, there will be new workshops in the UK added very soon, and those will be full day workshops. But if you're not in the UK and you go like, man, I would really like to visit a workshop from you guys, but I'm in New York. Okay, no problem at all. Then we come to you. You go to frankdoorhof.com/NY. And you come to this page, New York, February 13, 2016. I will be back in my favorite place in America. Well, one of my favorite places in America, New York. And what we're going to do is a full day workshop from 10 till 6. Small group, only 12 people are allowed. And it's $3.99 in dollars, but you get a free version of Capture One 9, valued at $2.99. During this day, and this is a unique workshop, we'll be in a daylight studio. And we're gonna mix strobes, daylight, and everything in between. So you don't wanna miss that one. And we have some amazing dresses by our good friend, one moment, there we go. We have some amazing dresses by our good friend Lindsay Adler. So you will have some stunning images for your portfolio. So go to NY on my website and you can register for that one. Now, one of the questions a lot of people also ask is, Frank, what about plugins? Well, I love plugins and I hate them. When I started out with photography, I had so many plugins, you wouldn't believe it. Everything was filled with plugins. And to be honest, I didn't have any time to check them all out because there were so many. And at one point I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna cut down on my plugins because I don't wanna have a computer filled with plugins. I wanna do photography and don't figure out what. So I was going like, okay, I'm gonna narrow this down, what plugins and I'm gonna use. In the end, I ended up with one plugin that I really liked, and that was Nik Tonal Contrast. I just loved the way it made the image pop, but it was a little bit, well, there were a little bit too much artifacts for my taste. So I found a company called MacFun, and they had a plugin called Intensify Pro, and I fell in love with it. For black and white, I always use Nik SilverFX. But MacFun recently released Tonality. And, well, you guessed it, I like that one better. The only problem is MacFun is only on Mac. So if you are on a Mac and you say, you know what, Frank, this really sounds interesting, that MacFun stuff. Just buy the whole suite, right? But that's expensive. So we made a deal with MacFun, and let me go to our MacFun website. So frankdorov.com/MacFun. Now, normally the whole plugin suite is $484. Now, that's a lot of money. But because you follow me, and this is only for you guys, and yeah, actually we're streaming this on YouTube, so, well, actually it's for everybody who's watching this. You will get the full creative kit, all 6 of the apps, including some special bonuses. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's photography add-ons and it's software and training. So it's really interesting. Only for $149.99, and that's a special price for you guys because you follow my work. So head out over and you will find it there. Now, if all this went a little bit too fast for the workshops, what you can do is just go to my website, frankdorov.com, and press on blog. And of course you will see daily updates there. And if you go to the blog, you will actually see the daily updates here. But you will also see here the New York workshop, the Ultimate Workshop Weekend in the Netherlands, which is awesome. It's a 2-day intensive workshop. And you will see the Mastering the Model Shoot on tour. And of course, you can also go to our shop and find the MacFun software or direct video downloads. Now, we're gonna stop this action very soon, but we have a special discount code called Holiday15. If you download any of our videos at the moment and you use Holiday15, you get a 25% discount, but that's only until the new year, so don't wait too long. Okay, I'm gonna switch to that camera for the final question, and then we're gonna end this episode. Okay, so let me see if we have questions here. Anna Week is doing comments now. Can you install a program? I already discussed that one. Hey Frank, does the ELC also feature something like hypersync or high-speed sync? Yes, it does. With the new Skyport, you have something called HS, high sync. And the new Skyport is really, truly amazing. You can do something called ODS. You can trigger your strobes with the ETTL pre-flash. Now, this one is for Canon. Sony is being released soon, and Nikon should be on the market also very soon. Now, the new Skyport supports HS, high sync, or ODS, where you can actually trigger that ETTL pre-flash and fine-tune it. What it does is it will use your strobe to get higher sync speeds. We shot up to 1/8,000th of a second with the new HS head. So that's on a Quadra, it's HS. And that's a special head, it's very slow, it's 1/600th of a second, and that makes it possible to shoot very, very high shutter speeds without losing too much light. Now, it's too complicated now to explain exactly how the system works, but bear with me, the faster the strobe, the less perfect the system works. So an ELC is a very, very fast strobe, meaning you will lose a lot of light when you go up in shutter speed. The D-lights are very slow strobes. Those work amazing with the AH system. Now, if you go to the RX or the BRX, they also work. So it works on all your existing Elinchrom strobes. But results may vary. So you have to change the ODS a little bit, play with it, fine-tune it, but it will work. Let me put it this way, I think with the ELCs, you can probably get up to 1/2000th of a problem, 1/2000th of a second without any problem. If you want to go higher, you actually have to use the cheaper strobes. Okay, another question. What are the other useful options for photographers using the iPad Pro? I'm a photographer, not a drawing artist. Well, at one point I told people, if you're not drawing, the iPad Pro is probably a little bit too expensive. And I'm still with that. But if you do video editing and you use Lightroom Mobile a lot and you love Candy Crush or video watching or whatever, the iPad Pro is a really good traveling companion. It can do whatever you want and it just gives you a better quality in your images. So, a better quality in your screen. So it's really nice. But if you're a drawing artist, really check it out. Go to the Apple Store, use an Apple Pencil, and I think you fall in love with it. I fell in love with it. And the fun thing is, the best advertising for the iPad Pro is if it triggers something creatively inside you that wasn't there before. Of course, I loved to draw when I was younger, but it really got those creative juices flowing again. So for me, the investment in the Apple iPad Pro was awesome. So the final question. Can you use it in combination with an aggregate? I think he means with a generator. I think that goes about the ELCs. The ELCs I wouldn't use on a generator. The cheaper strobes, yes, like the D-Lights. With the ELCs, the risk is a little bit that you will blow up one of your ELCs. They can be run on a generator, of course, we tried it. But you have to use a generator that uses a pure sinus curve. So don't ever try it on a Yamaha generator or whatever, you will blow up your strobes. But if you have a pure sinus, and not a simulated sinus, but a pure sinus, there should be no problem. But I'm still a little bit careful about that one. And the final one, Skyport Pro for Nikon is also available now. I know, Peter, so I knew that the Nikon was coming any moment, but it's great to see that it's available now. Okay, that were all the questions. I hope this time the stream went okay and that it's recorded online. I thank you so very much for watching. And thank you BenQ and Rogue for making this possible. And on January 6th, we have a new digital classroom live shoot with retouching 2 hours with our model and stylist and all-round crazy cool person, Nadine. So we'll see you guys then, and thank you so very much for watching. Bye bye.